Sad ću da predam reč gospodinu Dragutinu Neneziću, moderatoru ovog narodnog panela. Uživajte. Hvala.
Hvala puno, Jagoda. Hvala svima što ste ostali i posle pauze. Znamo i svi da obično posle pauze dođe do malog osipanja, ali čini mi se da to sada nije slučaj. Ja ću pričati zbog naših gostiju na engleskom i cijela ova sesija će biti na engleskom jeziku, tako da ko želi može da uzme aparaturu da prati prevod. So I'm very happy that we have a panel of practitioners today, all of them functioning, let's say, on an operating level, and all of them with a very good regional experience and experience on major flagship deals throughout the region. This panel is dedicated, as you have seen, to PPP models for infrastructure and energy delivery. So we're going to talk about different ways and different models on how to deliver projects. And the first half is going to be dedicated to infrastructure, second one to energy. We have not only consultants, but we also have Marcos, our dear friend, who is Associate Director of EBRD. We all know that the role of IFIs is very important when it comes to delivery of these sort of projects. They provide different, let's say, assistance at different levels, so technical assistance in project preparation. They're also funding, both public and private sector. They are doing a lot of institutional and policy work. So far, basically all the iterations of Serbian PPP law have been in one way or another prepared under the auspices of EBRD. So Marcos is today here to address precisely this particular topic, which is the way the EBRD and PPPs are kind of interplaying together on different levels and in different ways. So Marcos, the floor is yours. Please explain us a bit more. No, you can just.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dragutin, and thank you to the organizers and the sponsors for the kind invitation. Let me introduce myself a little bit. Marcos Martinez, I am the PPP expert working in the infrastructure group at EBRD. I would like to share with you what we are doing in PPPs currently, because we have slightly changed our approach. Effectively, we've seen for many years many attempts to do PPPs that didn't succeed, and for several reasons, but mostly because of the lack of comprehensive preparation of the project. There were many projects that went to procurement without having done all the due diligence and having done a proper procurement phase. Some of them were able to really award, but then the successful bidder was not able to get financing. So as a result, there has been a lot of waste of resources in project preparation. So we shifted a little bit the way that the bank supports PPPs. As a bank, we have been, and we are still very focused on financing and provide financial products to projects. However, we need to pay much more emphasis into the earlier phase. Okay, we are now working much closely into the pre-procurement, so helping governments in having the proper framework, legal framework, institutional structures, and especially capacity to really prepare projects. And most of you know how difficult, how long it takes to prepare a project like Pincha that we work together, or the airport. It's a multi-year effort. It's a very expensive effort, and it's normally the case that it's a test and fail process, especially for countries like where the bank works, which do not really they are novel to this. So what we are doing is we have created this new unit within the bank that has a pot of funding to help specific governments that are serious in PPP project preparation. Okay, because again, another mistake that we have done is jumped into supporting clients that they are not really serious on PPP project preparation, and the first time there is a change in government, they don't really commit. So we have a whole new team, which is, well, it's a combination of people from different parts of the bank, but it's around 20 experts like myself, and also sector experts for energy, for transport, urban transport, water, you name it. And now we work very closely with governments upstream, okay? And we identify what they need. And the need can be legal improvement, okay? We have done this assessment here in Serbia and other accession countries to the EU, where we look at the PPP law and we see what are the gaps with international standards or best practice, and also with the EU directive, which unfortunately is not really aligned with what is known as international standards by other IFIs. So that's an example. We work in PPP units capacity building or implementation units. So we like to have the governments also a skill not only to prepare the projects, but then to manage the project as they progresses during construction and operation and all the challenges the project will get. We are also very active in terms of energy, right? We help governments in structure the legal framework to be able to auction energy capacity, or if they prefer or it makes sense for them to go through the feed-in tariff regimes, have all the PPAs in place and all the reform that many times the whole electricity sector needs to get private investment in renewables. That's kind of a broad picture. Obviously, this team needs other units that focus on more due diligence for when we finance projects, and also that also is related to help governments to the implementation of projects. And then there is another small unit that is responsible for being in contact with donors to provide funding for all these efforts that we support clients with. Finally, we also have a small unit where I work, which is a specific project preparation. So when a country says, okay, I want this project to be PPP, we engage we provide a whole range of advisors, okay? And well, and depending on the circumstances, this is 3 years effort, is multi-million effort, so it's a lot of funding that we need, and we normally were very slow in mobilizing this amount of consultants. Now we have shortlisted a group of consultants for different sectors and different regions, where we are very quick in mobilizing, okay? And as the project progresses, the needs change, and we are very flexible to really change the terms of contract or mobilize additional support. And just to finalize, as a bank, hopefully we finance a project, but we like to close the loop in terms of the life cycle of the asset, okay? So, which is something somehow unique of EBRD. We have a framework that allows us to finance secondary market transactions. Obviously, those are transactions that do not involve CapEx and do not involve construction of anything. It's just investment in equity or refinancing existing assets. And there are not many IFIs that do that. We see the value of having EBRD as a partner, especially for institutional investors. And we can engage also and providing support and comfort to existing investors that wants to recycle their equity investment into new projects, but also to funds, infrastructure funds, pension funds that wants to invest in our region. Okay, we have invested in toll roads in Hungary. We have just refinanced a port in Poland with IFM, which is one of the main infrastructure funds, equity in airports. So that's something that is also very existing airports. Again, it's not greenfield projects. So it's something that we also feel very proud trying to close the loop in terms of the life cycle of the investment by the private sector in this asset class. More than happy to take any question now or later. Probably you have one. Okay.
So I think it will be very useful for those who are from public sector just to understand a bit better how can they get EBRD involved in project development at very early stage and how to get their projects, let's say, on an EBRD pipeline. Because from my experience for public sector, probably an IFI is the best solution when you don't have money or time to run a tender process for the consultants or to educate your own staff to develop a project. So if you want something very quickly and efficiently, it's probably best to do it through an IFI. And I guess it's good to hear what type of projects actually EBRD is looking at in terms of value and size and maybe a sector.
Okay, the typical example, I mean, the best way is reaching out to our local office. Okay, we have an office in all the capital cities where we work. And normally it's a government, a municipality that wants to deliver a certain project and presents the project to the local team that reach out to us in London. And then we look at the project, okay? If the project has a feasibility study already done or a pre-feasibility study already done, is something where we can start. If that's not even the case, we can mobilize a certain small funding to do what we call a phase 0, which is a short feasibility study. And that's very important, especially for projects that are based on availability payments with payments from the public sector. Try to showcase to the government that a PPP is a very expensive effort that will require budget commitment for the next 20, 30 years. And it's not only a way to get the debt associated with infrastructure out of the balance sheet of the government. Okay, try to overcome the investment requirements. So if we like the project, we have an internal approval of the project and we mobilize consultants. Okay, and it takes us around 6 to 10 weeks. Okay, to mobilize consultants to start working with the government in the project preparation. And then just to finalize with your second question, we are doing that in, for example, in a highway in Belarus right now that is under procurement. It's almost 200 million investment capex for expansion of an existing road. Very easy project, technically speaking, but very complex environment because it's Belarus. Ports in Ukraine. We are doing a dry port in Egypt. Airports. We participated in the hopefully to be financed, to be closed soon, Sofia Airport together with our colleagues from IFC. That's the kind of asset that we are also looking. Also in energy, we start looking also at IPPs in CEMED mostly. Okay.
So we'll take other questions later. I just wanted to expand a bit on this. So there are maybe very few people in this room that have worked on both flagship deals that we had in Serbia, so both Belgrade Airport concession and Belgrade Energy from East PPP. And I have a great pleasure that one of them is today with us. It is actually an advisor to both winning bidders, which is really something in the advisory world. So if there is anybody that could really talk extensively about the real first-hand advisory experience when it comes to PPPs and concessions in Serbia primarily, but also applicable to other regional markets because of the size of the projects, it is Andjelka Todorovic. So please share with us a bit your angle.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words. On my behalf and on behalf of Wolf Ties, it's a great pleasure to be here today, and we are very happy to support on this second year as well the PPP conference. Today, my idea was to discuss structuring of PPP projects with you, models of PPP projects, and something that occurred to me yesterday. I was discussing with one of you, I won't say who it was, but we were discussing yesterday on the cocktail at the British Embassy, and you said you have this project and everything is going fine, but then you have this one thing that you want to add to your project, and 3 other things pop up, and suddenly everything is out of order and it's crazy. So what I wanted to discuss with you today is how to think about structuring PPP projects, especially in our market, and how to approach structuring PPP projects in practice. When we think about PPP projects, we start with identifying something that is a public need. And in the regular course of things, these public needs are tended to by the public sector. They are tended to by the government. And in certain cases, what we need is an intervention or an assistance from the private sector in the sense that the public services and the public goods can benefit from, whether it be technical experience, innovations, know-how, or of course the financial and economic capabilities of the private sector, with a distribution of risks, but also distribution of benefits. So looking at public-private partnership projects as this cooperation of the private and public sector, we can start analyzing this from the very basic building block of this cooperation, which I'm sure many of you have come into contact with, and it's a classic public procurement contract. Why am I mentioning this? When we have a very simple public procurement, we have a situation where the government or a public body needs a short-term intervention, whether it be supply of works or services or goods to the government entity. But the government